Last year, the Office of Financial Research, which is an arm of the U.S. government, did a report where they had a sentence in it that I loved. One of their main findings was, look, companies aren't raising the costs just because they want to, just because they can, just because they're trying to charge people more. It's not just that they're greedy. Hey, corporations have always been greedy. What's new about that? They are doing this because their losses are going up, their costs are going up.
This is Maestro Minute, the show that discusses all things real estate, sharing interviews with the most successful people in the industry. Hear from their perspective and what they are doing to achieve success. Get exclusive tips on how you can also succeed in real estate. Maestro Minute is brought to you by Maestro Development. Here's your host, Nareg Muradian.
Let's talk a little bit about insurance.
Yeah.
Premiums have kind of skyrocketed.
Yep.
What's going on with insurance premiums?
Yeah, and it's not just premiums. So let's be clear that when we say insurance costs, if we're going to measure it correctly, we've got to measure the whole bundle of ways that people can be charged for this stuff. You know, insurance companies are clever. If they don't want to look like premiums are going up too fast, they'll just increase your deductible. So there's less that you're covered for, right? They'll reduce your coverage or they'll change the provisions. And so all of those things are changing to make the cost of insurance go up. Part of it is because of rising costs, right? They're worried that as construction costs increase, land costs increase, if they're going to have to come in and cover costs in the future from some sort of loss that the building has, they're going to have to build something new or renovate the building. It's going to be much more expensive than it was in the past. So the affordability crisis by itself creates an insurance problem. But the real problem in places like California on top of that is the changing climate, right? We've got wildfires are happening more frequently and are more severe than they used to be. In Florida, it's hurricanes. All across the country, natural disasters are becoming more frequent and more expensive. And so you're finding there are more and more neighborhoods that insurance companies are just saying, we want nothing to do with this neighborhood. Or if we are going to insure it, we're going to raise the rates dramatically. It's a very difficult business to try to predict the future in the way that property insurers have to do. And they have to make sure that they're going to stay in business. So they are obviously going to have to charge enough so that they have money in the bank when it comes time to cover those losses. Last year, the Office of Financial Research, which is an arm of the U.S. government, did a report where they had a sentence in it that I loved. One of their main findings was, look, companies aren't raising the costs just because they want to, just because they can, just because they're trying to charge people more. It's not just that they're greedy. Hey, corporations have always been greedy. What's new about that? They are doing this because their losses are going up. Right. Their costs are going up.
I know with our business, I'm always talking with our insurance team, and it seems like a lot of insurance companies are actually leaving California because of the costs, right? Yep. Do you see that ever coming back to like planet Earth? Like, you know what I mean?
I think they have to. So I think the insurance regulators in California are aware of that and they're starting to make a shift. They recognize that it is one of the hardest states in America to do business as an insurance company. And I think, look, as much as they might love to regulate insurance companies, they're not so stupid as to just let all of them leave. They will ease up. And one of the ways we know that is that the insurance commissioner announced a couple new regulations just this year, I should say deregulations, to try to bring some of those insurance companies back. One is that they have tried to streamline the process to make it easier and faster to get your rates approved. So part of the reason why California has been hard on insurance companies is because those insurance companies need to get the regulators to approve the rates every year. I mean, imagine if you were running, a store down on the street there and you had to go to the government to approve your prices every year. That would be crazy. That's the way insurance companies operate here. They're not going to get rid of that, but they say they're going to make it a lot easier to approve it, and that'll speed things up, and hopefully they'll approve more of them. The other thing that they're going to do is they're finally going to allow insurance companies to use catastrophe modeling. California is the last state left in the United States who has not allowed insurance companies to do catastrophe modeling. Catastrophe modeling is where you're allowed to use both historic data and your projections for future catastrophes that are just basically estimated guesses. But the reason that's valuable is because, especially in a world with climate change, the future ain't going to look anything like the past. You can't just rely on historic data. You have to make some guesses about the future, and that probably means you're going to guess that it's going to be more expensive and rates are going to have to go up higher. But once they can use catastrophe modeling, hopefully more insurance companies will be able to justify, well, I shouldn't say hopefully, they'll be able to justify higher rates. Hopefully that means that people will have the options of more insurance policies, though. That's the silver lining.
Thanks for tuning in to the Maestro Minute Podcast. Make sure to rate this podcast if you found it helpful, share it with a friend that could use it, and follow us on all major podcast platforms. The Maestro Minute, powered by Maestro Development.